There's been a lot of talk in Canada on the F-35 versus the Gripen. Well, here is my 2 cents on Canada's dilemma of purchasing F-35s or Gripens. I'm no expert, but I did serve in the Canadian Air Force, both as an F-18 technician and as a helicopter flight engineer. Therefore, I do possess a little background in military aviation, although it's limited. Here's my 2 cents. Canada should purchase both 1 to 2 squadrons of F-35s and 3 to 4 squadrons of Gripens. The best of both worlds. Now keep this in mind. The reality is, our role in NATO is changing rapidly with the thawing of the Arctic. Our Arctic patrols and military footprint up north will greatly increase with the construction of more and more northern forward operating bases in the future. NORAD and NATO will require us to focus on patrolling the Arctic and the Northwest Passage routinely in the decades to come versus the Middle East. Currently, and in the foreseeable future, 99% of our flying hours are local, training, Arctic, intercept patrols. There is no need for stealth technology for that. The Gripens have already proven their worth in northern climates. Can the F-35 fly in the cold? Yes, of course it can. But stealth technology is not required for homeland patrols of coasts, especially when it's more of a show of force. And if they can't see you, it ain't much of a show of force now, is it? On that note, contrary to popular belief, the F-35 is not invisible to radar. It has a reduced radar signature. The Russians, Chinese, the US, hell, even us in Canada, we have radar technology to detect F-35s routinely. That being said, stealth technology is of little advantage for homeland patrols. The latest ground-based radar systems and Gripens are sufficient enough for homeland security patrols and defense. Not to mention, the F-35's maintenance support required and the turnaround time needed is much more intensive than the Gripen, and even more complicated in those northern forward operating bases due to the remote and hostile environment of the north. But fear not, F-35 lovers. Where the F-35s shine is on deployed international operations. 1 or 2 squadrons of F-35s would be ideal for sustained deployed operations in hostile theaters of operations where stealth technology is beneficial, behind enemy lines, so to speak. They should be seen and employed in Canada like the special forces of the Air Force. Here in Canada, we never deploy more than 1 squadron overseas at a time anyway. Just deploying 1 fighter squadron overseas is extremely expensive. Also, if need be, the Gripen is no slouch by any means to back up the F-35s should they be required in deployed operations. Gripens would be built in Canada, so access to parts and replacement aircraft would be easy compared to F-35s. On that note, should the worst happen and a global war ignite, how fast could the high-tech, complex F-35 plant replace the aircraft's loss in battle, and not just ours, compared to a home-build, lower-tech Gripen? Building a single F-35 takes about 18 months to 2.5 years, depending on the model. The time required to manufacture a single Gripen fighter from start to final assembly is relatively quick, estimated at just a few months. Are we building an expensive deploy once run out of aircraft after a month of fighting fleet? Or are we building a sustainable fleet with our own production lines for a possible prolonged conflict with losses? Heaven forbid. For those who argue that it would be too costly to maintain 2 different platforms, haven't looked at the numbers to maintain a single fleet of 88 F-35s. The F-35's maintenance costs are substantial, with estimates at around $6.6 million per year per aircraft for the U.S. Air Force's F-35A variant. though the overall cost per flight hour is estimated at about 42,000 US dollars. On the other hand, the estimated cost per flight hour for the Gripen fighter varies by model, with the Gripen EF cited between 6,000 and 8,000 US dollars per hour. If you look at those numbers, the annual cost to service and maintain 4 squadrons of Gripens versus a single squadron of F-35s is comparable. We got more bang for your buck. Real-time data, battlefield information sharing, and operability, that's avionics, and with the proper mods, can be installed on any aircraft. This isn't something that's exclusive to F-35s. Now ask yourself this. If the F-35 is the be-all, end-all aircraft, then why are the Americans employing mixed fleets instead of only running F-35s? The F-16 is still alive and well in the U.S. fleet, with no signs of phasing out anytime soon. Everyone assumes stealth fighters are the future, the only future. Newsflash, it isn't. Traditional fighter jets will still be flying around the skies of the world in 30 years. Unmanned aircrafts are the future, but that's a whole other discussion. Well, there it is. My argument for a mixed fleet. And I didn't even get into U.S. technology and data control of the F-35s and the Gripen job creation in Canada.